أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على خير خلقه أجمعين محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. We are together again on a night of Muharram 1443, 2021, after the massacre. And inshallah, today we will be honored and blessed by a man who chose to be introduced as Brother Ali Nchinyane. You know, some of us, we like these big titles. When you introduce me, you must say Hujjat al-Islam wal-Muslimin, Fadilatu Shaykh, Samahatu Shaykh. I'm just, but generally, we all like to be called with these big titles. This man chose to be introduced as Brother Ali Nchinyane, and that's it. Inshallah, he will be giving us his three-part lecture series titled The Colour of Karbala. As usual, today we will be, reading some ahadith, jurisprudential ahadith, fiqhi ahadith, concerning just to warm up ourselves for the lecture inshallah ta'ala. Okay, I just randomly opened today's topic. It's interesting because maybe I've done it like once in my whole life. Tayammum. Muhammad ibn Humran and Jamil have narrated. He said to Abu Abdullah as-Sadiq alayhi salam, the Imam of a group of a people, and has a state of major ritual impurity while traveling, and he does not have enough water for horse. Should someone from this group perform wudu and lead the prayers? He said, no. Rather, the Imam, the one who's qualified to lead the prayers, should perform tayammum and lead the prayer. Allah Almighty has made the earth a source of purification. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has possibly never or hardly ever does tayammum. Alhamdulillah, we don't have water issues. Alhamdulillah, we wake up on time for Fajr, you know, because that's one of the reasons for performing ghusl. When the time is about to, and there's only time to do. Ubaidullah ibn Ali al-Halabi has narrated that he asked Abu Abdullah as-Sadiq, again, alayhi salam, about a man who passes by a well, but he does not have a bucket. So he does not have a bucket to collect water in order to do wudu or ghusl. He said, alayhi salam, he does not need to go into the well, for the Lord of water is the Lord of earth. He should perform tayammum. Very interesting. Very interesting. Safwan said, I asked Abu Hassan al-Kadhim about a man who needs to perform wudu for prayer but is unable to find any water. Then he found some water for wudu, but it cost 100 or even 1,000 dirhams, which he has available. Should he buy it for wudu or should he perform tayammum instead? He said, he rather should buy it. A similar thing has happened to me before, so I bought water and performed wudu. And by that, I bought an abundant wealth. إِذَا وُجِدَ الْمَاء بَطُلَتْ tayammum, as the saying goes. When there's water, tayammum becomes invalid. Muhammad ibn Muslim, these are very interesting ahadith because we hardly ever do tayammum, but these are very interesting. You know, they give us a different perspective. So I guess I'll continue. Muhammad ibn Muslim said, I asked Abu Ja'far al-Baqir about a man who, with a wound or injury, who is in a state of major ritual impurity. He said, it is no problem that he performs tayammum rather than ghusl. So you have a scar on the side of your face, being and whatnot, and now you can't do over it what you do. Interesting, huh? But obviously there are rulings that explain everything further. So don't just act on the hadith. This is just for perspective, for education. Abdullah bin Sinan has narrated from Abu Abdullah Sadiq alayhi salam concerning a man who enters a state of major ritual impurity while traveling, has only a little water with him, and fears for thirst if he performs ghusl with the water. Surprising that here they mention drinking and ghusl in one state, because when we do ghusl, oh my God, we use the whole ocean. But the narration says, al-wudu bi mud wal-ghusl bi sa'. Mud is 750 grams. So that's the amount of water that you can use. If you use more than that, it becomes israf, becomes extravagant. Well, ghusl bi sa'. Sa' is 4 times a mud. So if that is 3/4 of a kilo, this is 3 kilos. So for ghusl, the recommended amount of water to use is 3 kilograms of water. Yeah. So yeah. And fears for thirst if he performs ghusl with it. He said, if he fears thirst, then he should not spill a single drop of water and should perform purification with soil, for soil is more beloved to me. Very interesting ahadith. Inshallah, when we do take classes, we'll go into further detail with such rulings, and we'll have questions and whatnot. Today's questions will be strictly on tonight's talk, inshallah. Tonight, as I said, we will be blessed by our honorable brother Ali, who is now ready for us, inshallah. He's ready for us, inshallah. Inshallah ta'ala, he will be speaking to us, and on his lecture series, again, I mentioned 3-part lecture series on titled Colour of Karbala. Hey, beautiful background, man. MashaAllah.
Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Right, inshallah, we'll listen to the talk of our teacher who likes to be called brother, our sheikh who prefers to be called brother, Ali Nchinyane, inshallah, bifadl salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. No, I don't have a problem with being called I don't have a problem with being called teacher, or being called Muruti, or being called something of that sort. But Sheikh is an old man, so I'm not an old man. Yeah. Anyway, let's proceed. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من شر الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين، لا سيما خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين. أما بعد، قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن آياته خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف ألسنتكم وألوانكم إن في ذلك لآيات للعالمين. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. Nilikupa our Maulana Muallim Sheikh Hussein Nchinyane afukutsa volu. Or mamela di earphone or something, because khona utlwa go kelengote. First of all, my deepest condolences to everybody on the martyrdom anniversary of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam. And may Allah make us among those that continuously adhere to the teachings of Imam al-Hussein, and more especially to be among those that will be among the helpers and among those who will seek martyrdom in the presence of his grandson, Imam al-Mahdi. May God Almighty hasten his reappearance, inshallah. I see Sheikh Amr al-Badri. Thank you for being here. My roommate in Karbala. Barakallah feek, Sheikhna. I'm happy to see you here. If that is you, by the way. So the verse that I quoted in the beginning of my talk is a verse in Surah Ar-Rum, chapter number 30, verse number 22 of the Holy Quran. And it reads as follows: and among the signs of Allah is the variety of your skin colors and the variety of your languages. So in the beginning, of course, it says that, Ahsan. In the beginning, it says, among the signs of God is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the variety of your languages and the variety of your skin colors. But surely there is a sign in that for those who have knowledge. So here the Quran is explaining that languages and that skin colors are a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we have different languages and we have different skin colors. An artist, if you look at an artist like Leonardo da Vinci, or is it Leonardo DiCaprio? He was also an artist. But anyway, Leonardo da Vinci, he painted the Mona Lisa. And I think he also painted the Last Supper, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, he painted the Mona Lisa. If you were to ask Leonardo da Vinci to make a painting of something else, and he was to make the same painting of Mona Lisa, and somebody else asked him to make another painting, and he makes another painting of the Mona Lisa, and he does it over and over again, you would clearly say that Leonardo da Vinci was not creative. You would say that Leonardo da Vinci was not artistic. He was not gifted, because he does the same painting all over and over again. So similarly, Allah Almighty, in his creativity and in his artistry and in his beauty, in the beauty of his works, he has created us all to be different. So some people are not the same. Allah, everybody is not the same. Allah made all of us to be different. He made some to be tall, made some to be short, made some to be dark, made some to be light. So it's a sign of his majesty and a sign of his creativity and a sign of the beauty of his creation. So this is what Allah is trying to tell us in the Quran, that the reason why there are different languages and there are different colors is because of that. So Islam is against racism based on this. I just wanted to start there before I enter into the discussion. So the topic of my discussion for tonight, and for the coming nights, is going to be about a theme that is based on the color of Karbala. And I will be addressing three topics. The first topic that I'm going to address is going to be about the Aryanization of religion, or the Aryanization of Islam. And then the second topic that I'm going to address in the coming nights, tomorrow night, inshallah, is the Shahr Banu, dissecting the story of Shahr Banu and proving that Shahr Banu is a fictional character. Number three is going to be proving that John ibn Huway is a fictional character. So that is going to be for the third night, inshallah. Now, why did I name this topic for tonight the Aryanization of Islam? The reason why I named it the Aryanization of Islam is that initially I wanted to name it the Persianization of Islam. And the reason why is because I wanted to explain how so many narrations have been infiltrated with racism, have been infiltrated with influences that are mainly coming from an Iranian flavor. So that's one of the reasons why I named it Aryanization. But if I named it Persianization, and the original Persians were black, then it would imply or insinuate that the Persians were actually white, which they were not. But the Aryans, the reason why I named it the Aryanization is because the Aryans is a name that is used a lot in white supremacy. For example, if you hear about Nazi Germany, how they believed in white supremacy and how they believed in them being Aryans, and therefore the usage of the word Aryanization. And also, in addition to that, the reason why I use the word Aryanization is because the word Aryanization, or the word Iran means land of the Aryans, or it means where Aryans stay, or it's the plural form of the word Aryan or Ari. So that is the meaning of Iran. So my main topic, or the jugular vein that I'm aiming for is basically Iranianization of Islam. How Iranians, particularly through a racial context, destroyed Islam. Not all Iranians, of course. Now, the destruction of Islam also, how did it happen? It happened through Hadith. That's one thing that is extremely important that I have to address. If you look at Hadith, Hadith is extremely toxic, as opposed to the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran is immune from all of these things, because Hadith is has a lot of flaws. It has a lot of flaws, considering that, number one, they're questionable. Ahadith are very questionable, as opposed to the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran comes directly from Allah. You can't even question it. There is not a single Muslim that questions the Holy Quran. So we can see numerous discriminations that are happening in the country right now. We can see, for an example, a Pakistani guy who wants to control every single South African Shia, And my purpose in dissecting this topic is because I want to explain the mentality that comes from. Why is it that, for an example, you find, have you ever seen like Indians, for example, Indians who happen to be Hindus, they'll be more kind than the Muslim Indians. Or you'll find, for an example, the Indian Christian will be more kind than the Muslim Indian. For an example, why is that? And that is why I said to one friend of mine, I told him that the Indians, the Hindu Indians, theoretically introduced the caste system, but the Muslim Indians practically implemented the caste system. Not all Indians, of course, not all Indians, not everybody, not every one of them are racist, of course. So I don't want to talk much about how we've experienced racism and how we've been on the receiving end for decades. That's not my topic of discussion. My topic of discussion and my intention with this lecture is to demonstrate where the racism or where the mentality originates from. Why is it that our Muslim brothers, be they Indian, be they Iranian, be they Pakistani, be they Iraqi, or be they Iranian, or whatever that they might be, why is it that they are racist? Why is it that they are racist in the manner in which they are racist, especially? And based on the research that I did, it is because of three reasons. So the first reason why is because of opposition of the Holy Quran. If you look at the Holy Quran in its nature, as I quoted a verse from the Quran that speaks about the diversity and the variety of your languages and the variety of your skin colors. But a lot of time, what has happened is that people have distanced themselves from the Quran. We have distanced ourselves from the Quran. وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ يَا رَبِّي إِنَّ قَوْمِ اتَّخَذُوا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ مَحْجُورًا. There's a verse in the Quran that says so. And the messenger says, "Oh my Lord, my people have taken this Quran as something that is abandoned, as something that is neglected, as something that is forsaken." So we see even in the culture, where we even, social media, the culture that we have on social media, we will post a hadith more than we will post verses of the Quran. We'll have a hadith a day, but we'll never have a verse a day. You see, Imam Ali said, the Prophet said, Imam Hussein said, which is all well and good. But however, the Quran has been put on the shelves. It's not of any use to us. So it's being belittled, and Hadith is the one which is given more precedence and priority. So that is the first reason and the first cause. Quran does not have racism, Ahadith have racism, as we will prove. The second thing is opposition of Ahlul Bayt. People have opposed Ahlul Bayt. And we see how Ahlul Bayt behaved towards people of various races. They themselves, they were blacks. And in actual fact, according to some studies, according to some research, there is research that proves that Ahlul Bayt were dark-skinned people, and that as a result, they were victims of these crimes. They were victims of being martyred and being killed. That is the second cause. The third cause, which is obviously racist ahadith, and that is the main topic for today, inshallah. The main topic for today is that I'm going to be unearthing and I'm going to be showing, demonstrating all of these narrations, or not necessarily all of these narrations, but my plan, my aim is to show you why the behavior, where there is smoke, there is fire. So we see the smoke. We've been seeing the smoke, excuse the pun, but we've been seeing the smoke for a very long time. Now I'm going to show you where the fire is, and then you will understand why there's been smoke all along. And then inshallah, hopefully we can take out the fire. So by the end of this lecture, inshallah, you will have an idea as to why is it that people behave the way they behave. There are numerous narrations from both schools of thought that happen to be racist. As I said, for tonight, inshallah, my focus is to prove that there is a racist tradition, or there has been a racist culture within the Muslim community, and it's nothing new. So you shouldn't be surprised when you see the behavior of some people, or you see, our Asian brothers behave the way they behave. You shouldn't be surprised. And I will mention all of these narrations. It is very important, by the way, before I carry on, that I mention the following. It is very painful and disappointing when somebody that isn't a Muslim finds these narrations in Islamic literature or in Ahadith that prove racism, and then they use it to prove that no, Islam is racist. You see, this religion is a racist religion, as opposed to somebody who is myself a Muslim, unearthing them and showing it that, look, guys, we need to fix our problems, and we need to have a reassessment of all of these decadent narrations that we have in our school of thought. So I'm going to reference from both schools narrations that are extremely, extremely racist. So this is not for the faint-hearted. If you get easily offended by racism, this is going to be like extremely, extremely painful for you. Right, now let us go to the first narration. The first narration is in Siratu Muhammad ibn Ishaq, or Siratu ibn Ishaq. It's a very famous history book by a Sunni scholar called Ibn Ishaq, or Muhammad ibn Ishaq. And this is what he says in his book, page number 243. He says that there was a man, it's a particular verse of the Holy Quran that was revealed. According to this verse was revealed during the time of a man called Nabtal. And this verse was revealed about that man, and it's a verse that speaks about hypocrisy. It's in Surah Tawbah, verse number 61. And the narration reads as follows, that this verse was revealed for a man called Nabtal. And Nabtal was وَكَانَ رَجُلًا أَدْلَمْ. He was a very dark-skinned man, very dark in color. ثائر الشعر الرأس أحمر العينين أصفع الخدين مشوه الخلقة. So it says that he was extremely black in color. He was dark-skinned. Number two, he had red eyes. He had dark cheeks. And he was very ugly. It says مشوه الخلقة. He was very bad in appearance. That's what the narration states. And then the Holy Prophet said the following words: Man ahabba an yanzuru ila shaytan falyanzuru ila Nabtal ibn al-Harith. Whoever wishes to see at shaitan, whoever wishes to look at shaitan, let him look at Nabtal ibn al-Harith, that black guy. So if the Holy Prophet was referring to his bad character as a human being, then we don't have a problem with that. But however, the narration states that he was dark-skinned and he was red, he had red eyes and so on and so forth. And therefore, whoever wishes to look at Shaitan, let him look at that man. So that clearly states that Shaitan is a black guy. This is in the Hadith. It's not in the Quran. The Quran is immune of such things. Inshallah, one day we will dwell on what the Quran says when it speaks about race. In actual fact, we will prove that Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was a bit of the Prophet black. And the Imams of Ahlul Bayt as well were also black, inshallah. And then you will understand why these narrations were introduced and why there is Aryanization itself, inshallah. In Sahih al-Bukhari, it is narrated by Anas ibn Malik that بينما نحن جلوس مع النبي في المسجد دخل رجل على جمل فأنخه في المسجد ثم أقله ثم قال لهم أيكم محمد. So this narration is basically saying that this man entered in the gathering and he was looking for the Holy Prophet. And when the Holy Prophet, when they asked, who among you is Muhammad? You know, and then the companions who were sitting with the Holy Prophet, they said, he is the white man who is sitting there, or the white man that is reclining. So the hadith is clearly saying that the Holy Prophet was white. And not that we believe that, of course, because how can you be white if, number one, your ancestors are African, number one. Number two, how are you white if you lived in a climate or in an environment that reaches about 56 degrees Celsius? Doesn't make sense. Number three, how are you white when the people that you live with, the environment, the people that you live with, and you are classified as an Arab, and those very same people who are classified as Arab, they are considered as people that are dark-skinned, that are dark brown in color. So it doesn't make sense. It's impossible that the Holy Prophet was a white man. With this, I'm just trying to establish that the Aryanization of religion. There are many narrations, by the way, many ahadith that say that the Holy Prophet was white. The Holy Prophet was white. So many. If I can show you there, you'd be surprised. So that was in Sahih al-Bukhari. There's another one in Sahih Muslim. It's in Hadith number 6081. Then there is another narration in Sunan and Nasa'i. Now this is the narrations. These are the narrations that are racist. The narration reads as follows. I will read it in English, inshallah, for time, because of time constraints. A slave came and gave his allegiance to the Holy Prophet. He gave his allegiance to the Holy Prophet to immigrate, for the hijrah. And then the Holy Prophet did not know that the man was a slave. And then the man looked at him. The master of that man who wanted to convert to Islam. As the hadith appears, as you will see later on, that this man was not a black man, he was white, most probably. So the Holy Prophet said to the master, when the master looked at the white man in a very peculiar manner, that, what's wrong with you? You're pledging allegiance to Muhammad and you're my slave. So the Holy Prophet said, sell him to me. Then the narration says, and so he bought him for 2 black slaves. So in exchange, the Holy Prophet said, okay, take 2 black slaves and I'll take that one white guy. So this is found in Sunan and Nasa'i in Hadith number 4625. And in Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, which is a book by Ibn Kathir, it is the narration that speaks about the story of Noah, or Nuh alayhi salam. Nuh, according to narrations, had 5 sons. The 2 sons, one of them died before the flood. One of them died during the flood. And then 3 remained after the flood. The first one was called Abir, if I'm not mistaken, and the other one, the second one who died during the flood, I forgot his name, but he passed away. He died during the flood. Then there were three remaining, which was Ham, Sham, or Shem, or Sam, and Japheth, or Japheth, or Japheth. So these were the three that remaining. The narration reads as follows, which is in Bidayah and Nihaya, and it is in page number 271, that Ham, or Ham, who is basically the black one, or as you will see, that not necessarily the black one, but he will become black. That Ham, that's why they call black people the Hamites. So Ham did something that was disappointing to his father, to Nuh, and then Nuh prayed against him so that God Almighty would make his son Ham to look ugly, to become ugly. And then after that, the narration says, فَوَلَدَ لَهُ وُلْدٍ أَسْوَدٍ وَهُوَ كَنْعَانِ ibn Ham جَدُّ Sudan. After Noah prayed against his son Ham, or Ham, after he prayed against him, the son, he said, he prayed that he becomes ugly. After he prayed that he becomes ugly, he gave birth to a son that was black. And that son's name was called Canaan. And Canaan became the ancestor of the Sudan, the ancestor of the people that were black. So that is the story of Ham. And then the narration goes as follows: وَقِيلَ بَلَ رَأَى أَبَاهُ نَائِمًا وَقَدْ بَدَتْ عَوْرَتَهُ فَلَمْ يَسْتُرْهَا وَسَتَرَهَا أَخَوَاهُ. That Nuh was naked. When Nuh was naked, instead of Ham to cover his father, he did not do that, but rather the two brothers did that. And so Nuh prayed that may Ham become the slave of the two, and this is also, of course, derived from the Bible. So the narration, however, states categorically clear: فَلِهَذَا دَعَ عَلَيْهِ أَن تُغَيِّرَ نُطْفَهُ وَأَن يَكُونَ أَوْلَدَهُ عَبِيدًا لِإِخْوَتِهِ. So he became black. After he became black, they prayed against him, and he changed. After he changed, his children became the slaves of the two brothers. That is in Bidayah and Nihaya. And then in Tafsir Ibn Kathir, there is another narration as well. Although it's a narration that many of us have taken it as a compliment. We thought it's actually a praise to black people. It's not a praise to black people. It's actually very bad. And the narration says, obey your Amir. أطيعوا أميركم ولو كان عبدا حبشيا مجدوعا. Obey your Amir even if he happens to be an Abyssinian slave. So now the question is this: why would the Prophet say, this is found in Tafsir Ibn Kathir, it's in Tafsir Ibn Kathir, I will find the verse. I will find the verse, inshallah. Whoever is interested in finding the reference, I will give it to him later on, inshallah. But anyway, it says, obey your Amir even if he happens to be an Abyssinian slave. So why would the Prophet say that obey your Amir even if he happens to be an Abyssinian slave? The hadith is saying that the worst thing that if the person can be is be a combination of two. That is, be Abyssinian or be a slave. So it's not a compliment. It's basically saying that if a person is of Habash descent, then that means they are not good people, But if they are your Amir, you have to obey them. Doesn't matter how they look like, Even if he's I don't know how you have to obey an abd, a slave. I don't know. But anyway, then let's come to another narration. Okay, now we're going to start with the Shia. Those were the Sunni narrations, by the way. Now we're going to come to the Shia narrations, which are also a bit not so nice. عن أمير المؤمنين. It is found in المهذب البارع. In المهذب البارع, the narration goes as follows. You can even find it in other books, like in Mir'at al-Uqul, which is a book by Allama Majlisi. And the narration says, إِيَّاكُمْ وَنِكَاحُ الزَّنْجِ فَإِنَّهُ خَلْقٌ مُشَوَّهٌ. Imam Ali alayhi salam allegedly advises Muslims. He says, refrain from marrying a Zanj. So now a Zanj is a group of people from Africa. It's a tribe in Africa, in East Africa. They're called Zunuj or Basenji. So he says, for indeed they are a despicable creation. So don't marry them. They are a despicable creation. That's what Imam Ali says. Or they are an ugly creation. Mushawwah means extremely ugly. And then in another narration here, which is from Imam as-Sadiq, or allegedly from Imam as-Sadiq, of course, attributed to Imam as-Sadiq, that when he's sending people to go and buy slaves, or he's advising somebody, when you want to buy somebody, he says, La tashtari min as-Sudan ahadan. Do not buy from Sudan anybody. If you want to go to Sudan and you want to buy the blacks, don't buy anybody. فَإِنْ كَانَ لَا بُدَّ فَالنُّوبَ. But if ever you are forced to buy from anybody there, then buy from the people of Nuba. And then the Imam says, okay, because the people of Nuba, you know, somehow they're better than the other black people, which is still as racist. And narration, there is another, as the narration continues, it says, and do not also marry from the Kurds, the Kurdish people, for surely they are an army of the jinn who have been revealed. So meaning they are of jinn. I don't understand how human beings can be jinn. I don't get it. Yeah. So it says Kurds and blacks should not be married, or a group of blacks. It doesn't make a difference whether you say blacks or a group of blacks. It doesn't make a difference because you can't generalize people. The third narration is from Imam as-Sadiq, is attributed to Imam as-Sadiq as well. لا تنكحوا الزنج والخوز فإن لهم أرحام تدل على غير الوفاء. Says that do not marry from the blacks, or do not marry from the Zanj. Let me rather not say blacks, rather let's say from the Zanj. Do not marry from the Zanj, and do not marry from the Khawas. According to the narration here, or the explanation here in the footnotes, they say Khawas are the people who are the people from Afghanistan, the Khazars. And for surely their wombs are of disloyalty. And then it says, was Sind, and the people of Ind, and the people of India, and the people of Qind, laysa fihim najib. Surely there is no righteousness in such people. So that is for another day. But I just wanted to prove, or wanted to demonstrate that those ahadith. The Holy Prophet, another narration attributed to the Holy Prophet. This one I hate a lot. It makes my blood boil. But anyway, it goes as follows. Lillahi min ibadihi khayratan. Allah has servants, for Allah has servants that are the two of the best. You know? فَخَيْرَتُهُ مِنَ الْعَرَبِ قُرَيْشِ وَالْعَجَمِ فَارِسِ. So the best of basically the hadith is saying that there are two great nations, or there are two of the best nations, is among the Arabs. Among the Arabs are the Quraysh. And then it says among the Ajam are meaning the foreigners. Arab, the word Arab, by the way, does not mean a particular race, but that is a topic for another day. Inshallah, we'll dissect it thoroughly. Arab does not mean a race of a particular group. Arab rather means an indigenous person or a native person of that place. I'm an Arab in South Africa. And the Prophet Muhammad, or an Arab in South Africa, is an Ajam. So the word Arab does not mean what you call a race. It had never referred to a particular race. So it says, and from among the non-Arabs or the foreigners, then it is the Persians. So there are two great nations. Among the Arabs are the Quraysh, and among the non-Arabs are the Persians. And then after that, it says, كان يقول علي بن الحسين, that Imam Zayn al-Abidin used to say this frequently. أنا ابن الخيرتين لأن جده رسول الله وأمه بنت يزدجر al-Malik. So they say that Imam Zayn al-Abidin used to say this a lot. I am of the son of the two greatest nations. And therefore, how? Because his grandfather was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his mother was a descendant of Yazdegerd, or the king of Persia. They say basically that Imam Zayn al-Abidin was a Persian. But inshallah, tomorrow we will dissect it and show you that Shahrbanu, not only was she a Persian, but she was a fictional character, and most probably she might not even have existed. So that is the narration. Those are the narrations that we have. There is there is another narration here that says that black people won't go to paradise. So the narration reads as follows. I'm sorry for mentioning all of these things, but for me, they are funny. Sorry, I know some of you are offended, but if you're offended, no, for me, I'm not personally offended, because I just find it humorous. It says, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله لا يدخل الجنة مدمم الخمر ولا سكير ولا عاق ولا شديد السواد ولا ديوث ولا قلاح وهو شرطي ولا زنوق ولا خنثى ولا. So basically the hadith is speaking about different people. That a drunkard will not go to paradise. An intoxicated will not go to paradise. Somebody that disrespects their parents will not go to paradise. Somebody that is like a hermaphrodite will not go to paradise. Somebody that is a coward will not go to paradise, and so on and so forth. And then it says somebody who is extremely black in color. In the footnotes of this hadith, they say that no, somebody that is extremely black it's referring to somebody that has extremely black beard, extremely black hair, because in Islam it's encouraged to hide your white beard. You know, you should not hide your white beard, more especially with blackness. You shouldn't dye your hair black. You shouldn't dye your hair black. So that's what it means. But still, you can't condemn somebody to go to hell because of that. The hadith says that they won't go to Jannah. Such people will not go to Jannah. And here there's another narration which is even more funny, more hilarious. Now this one you will love. It goes as follows. But however, I must make a disclaimer that when it comes to this hadith, I have not found it in the books itself. I have not found in the reference itself. But the reference that I was given is that it was in volume 103 and page number 84. So if you don't find it, then I'm just saying that I warned you. But I used to hear this a lot when we were in Hausa. We used to hear the story and we used to laugh at it. But this is how it goes. جاءت امرأة عجوز إلى رسول الله. That an old lady came to the Holy Prophet and said, "Oh Prophet, I wish to enter paradise." Then the Holy Prophet told her that old people do not go to paradise. You won't go to paradise. So she left. She was frustrated. She was saddened. She was hurt with the words of the Holy Prophet. And then Bilal saw this old lady. Then Bilal went to this old lady and said, "What's happening? What's wrong?" He said that, "No, the Holy Prophet said this, said I won't go to paradise." Then the Holy Prophet and then Bilal went to the Holy Prophet, said, "Oh Prophet, I heard that this lady, she's crying because you said that old people don't go to paradise. Now, why did you say that? I mean, that's not cool." So the Holy Prophet said, "Bilal, black people won't even go to paradise also." So Bilal was also hurt. And then Bilal left. He was crying and he was sad. And then it is reported that Abbas, the uncle of the Holy Prophet, also came to the Holy Prophet. And he was an old man. He said, "Oh Prophet, I saw Bilal and I saw this old lady, they were crying, that you said you're not going to enter paradise. What's wrong?" Then the Holy Prophet said, "Abbas, you're not going to go to paradise either because you're an old man." So Abbas left and he was also crying. After he was crying, the Holy Prophet asked somebody to come and call them. When he called them, he says, giving them glad tidings to make them happy. فقال لهم أن الله تبارك وتعالى متوج على رأسه لا بهيئة الشيخ والأسود. So Allah Allah will let people enter into paradise while their faces are illuminating, and while they are youths, and while they are wearing crowns, and they will enter into paradise. But they will not enter into paradise as old people or as black people. So I don't know who is here, Amir Mustafa or Haj Khalifa. They won't enter paradise, unfortunately. So these narrations, they are all proof that there has been a racist agenda that has always been there, that considers black people inferior, black people are going to hell, black people are shayateen, people are so on and so forth. And inshallah, when the time is right, we will even prove that no, majority of the prophets, if not all the prophets, were actually black people, were actually people of dark skin color. We will also prove that the Imams of Ahlul Bayt were also of dark skin color. I remember once when I was in Qom, one of my teachers, also, this is also another thing that is happening, but inshallah, we'll come to that, I think, in the third session when we will speak about John ibn Huwayy. One of my teachers, I remember he said that Ammar and Yasir and Sumayya, that they were African, But me, what I've known all along is that Ammar bin Yasir was from Yemen, and Yasir was also from Yemen, and Sumayya was also from Yemen. They were a family that were from Yemen. According to history, Ammar and Sumayya, Yasir and Sumayya, they were the first martyrs of Islam, the first people to die for Islam. So because they were slaves, he automatically said that no, they were African. So what has happened is that in a lot of Islamic literature, we hear that immediately or automatically, if you are black, you are a slave, or automatically, if you're a slave, you are black. They are synonymous. They are used synonymously. Inshallah, we will prove this in later sessions, inshallah. وآخر دعوانا عن الحمد لله رب العالمين. If you have questions, you may proceed by asking.
Ay, 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 ay. You. Why ne, who's the king? I guess this discussion was necessary. This discussion was necessary, but also possibly very uncomfortable and intriguing, but uncomfortable. So yeah, no. Hey, now.
I'm sorry I had to do this, but it's necessary. I have to do this.
No, absolutely, it's necessary because the thing is, representation is very important. So if a black person knows that they are respected in Islam, then they will not reject Islam, or they will remain aziz in Islam. They will remain honorable in Islam, and this thing that when somebody of a lighter complexion walks into the room, and then we all respect them, but then later a person who is more knowledgeable, who is more qualified, and so on and so forth, but just because they have a black skin and they walk into the room, we do not stand up for them, we do not respect them. So this discussion is very important. Very important.
Yeah, my intention in mentioning all of these ahadith was just to demonstrate, like for an example, you go to an Indian shop and you're a black person. Go to an Indian Muslim guy and you greet him and you say assalamu alaikum. What does he do? What is the thing that is most likely to happen?
Hello, brother.
You understand what I mean? Hello, brother. You know, so sometimes they will ask you, are you a Muslim? And then you say, yes, I'm a Muslim, you know? And then you ask them, are you Muslim? Of course I'm a Muslim. You understand? So yes, you're a Muslim, but him, of course he's a Muslim. So I wanted to demonstrate that mentality, that behavior, why you as a black person, for an example, if Indians will come and visit your mosque, they will eat nice and healthy food. But the rotten food, they will serve it to black people. You know, there's this joke that my father used to make years ago, you know, and I never really understood what he meant, but he used to say, Jamaat of Quatema, Jamaat of Quatema, Jamaat of Quatema, you know. And then I asked him, why do you always say that? And he said, no, what used to happen is that back then, when we would go for gatherings and when we would go for what you call the ijtima and all of these things, they would make sure that they would call the Jamaat of Quatema to eat a specific food. That food was specifically made for the Jamaat of Quatema. And then a particular food was made for everybody else, you know? So I wanted to demonstrate why these things happen. Why is it that Indians who receive food parcels, you'll never take photos of them. But when black people receive food parcels, why do you have to take pictures of black people? For an example, you know, you will never get pictures of anybody else besides black people who receive food parcels, who receive, financial aid and all of these things that get taken pictures of. But everybody else, they don't get taken pictures of. So I'm just trying to demonstrate that all of these behaviors, they were religiously introduced and religiously institutionalized. They come from ahadith, straight from the ahadith that we love quoting. Whereas the Holy Quran is there, then we don't really give the Quran any attention, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's true. Hey, it's a painful thing. It's painful reality that we are faced with. It's a painful reality that we are faced with, that as black people you are seen as the lower, you know. I discussed this a lot with several people, that when an imam or a khatib, a speaker of Jum'ah, comes to the township or the rural area, they glorify poverty. They glorify poverty. But then when they are in the suburbs or in the areas that are generally not for black people, then they glorify being a businessman and giving zakat. So why the antithetics? Why the antithetics? Why is it that this person has to receive zakat and this one has to give zakat?
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, such things, even though it was not perpetrated by only Muslims, it leads to the things like the case in Phoenix, where people see themselves as correct and right for doing what they did. They don't see anything wrong with what they did. And then when you question them, they're like, no, these people, we feed them, we give them our zakat. Understand? Because it creates that thing. All these ahadith will be quoted about so-and-so as black, this, but then, which wasn't the khutbah al-wida of the Prophet, the last sermon, but it was amongst the last sermon when he said, La people are like the teeth of a comb and stuff like that. Those ones, they are just, you know, mentioned in passing. When you confront a person who is not black for racism, they'll tell you, no, the Prophet said people are equal like the tongue of a comb. No, there's no difference between a red one and a black one. They are all equal. There's no difference between an Arab and a non-Arab. You know, then they mention the Ahadith. But generally, they will tell you about how this one was black and whatnot and whatnot. Let's check the chat. I'm sure there are many questions there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So this means the language of the Holy Quran is the native language of those who submit to Islam.
I think this is a question regarding the word Arab. When I said that the word Arab does not mean a particular race, rather Arab means indigenous or native. I think that's the question, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, the word Arab does mean that, and even in the Holy Quran, it is documented, inshallah. One day, I will make a series where I will speak about a particular topic, which is going to be about the melanin of submission. It's going to be a series that addresses all of these topics of race, and will reveal certain realities to prove that actually the prophets, Adam, Ibrahim, Nuh, Musa, Isa, they were all from Ethiopia. They were all Africans. And inshallah, if time permits, if we are still alive, inshallah, to be able to prove all of that. May Allah and the Imam al-Mahdi keep us alive to be able to demonstrate and prove all of those things, inshallah. So yes, the word Arab does not mean a particular race. And the word Arabia or Arabistan or Jaziratul Arab, a very recent word. The word Saudi Arabia is also a very recent word. You know, the classification of Arab came as a result of the usage of the word. When I refer to myself as Mutu, when I refer to myself as Mukaya, and we refer to ourselves as people Abu Kai, eventually it becomes a word whereby that tribe that comes from there, we call each other Abu Mkai. And then that tribe ends up being identified as the Mkaya tribe. So that's what happened with the word Arab. The word Arab does not mean a particular race or a particular ethnicity of a particular geographic location. It never meant that. And even in Arabic grammar, when we say make it Arab, it means clarify. It means make it clear or make it familiar. That's another thing. Even in the Quran itself, the Quran, it says, bilisanin arabiyyin mubin. And then it says, la bil ajami. Not ajam. The Quran is not ajam, but the Quran is Arab. The Quran is Arabi and the Quran is not ajami. Ajami or ajam means foreign or unfamiliar. Something that you don't know. Unclear. That's the meaning of the word ajam. So if the opposite of the word Arab is ajam and it means unclear or foreign or strange, then what is the meaning of the word Arab?
Or crooked, yes.
What is the meaning of the word Arab? Arab means familiar, clear, manifest. So that is the meaning of the word Arab. It means native and indigenous, inshallah.
Okay, here there's another one. I can't wait for the joint discussion. My question to him is, beyond the prophets and imams that we know, are there any who are black, and how would we be able to determine if they are true?
So based on the research that I have done, I have evidence to prove that not only were they black, not only were some of them black, but all of them were black. Number one, historically, I'm just going to mention the things that are generally known by everybody. Number one, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a descendant of Hajar. And it is all known that Hajar came from sub-Saharan Africa. That means she was a dark-skinned person. They say that she comes from Sudan, but she was black. That's the first thing. Now, Hajar and her son Ismail, they settled in Makkah. and the Prophet is a descendant of Ismail. So therefore, genetically, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was black, even if he might not have been black as in by skin color, but genetically, ancestrally, he was black. Because if your ancestors are black, you're black. That's number one. Number two, the climate and the environment that the Prophet was in. It was extremely hot. Saudi Arabia, Mecca, is one of those countries that are on the top 10 of the hottest countries in the world. That's number two. So how is it that you get a person that looks like, I don't know, Ashton Kutcher, whereas he was living in Saudi Arabia? It's impossible. Number three is that Arabs themselves, they said historically it has been documented that Arabs are either of two things. They are either Samra or Shadidu Samra, number one, or number two, they are Aswad. According to history, Arabs are either brown, dark brown in color, or are either black. That is according to racial classification of Arabs. Anthropologists have classified Arabs as Negroids. This is according to, I'm talking about Orientalists, you know. So these are just general things, general facts. But there is other additional evidence to prove that the Holy Prophet was black and that the Ahlul Bayt were black.
All right. The question is now is, are there any who are black, and how we'll be able to determine if they are true prophets? As if you study our history, particularly in South Africa, we have quite a lot of prophets who have influence till this day. Mochembe, prophet that exists with Belembe, and another with the Mpondomise. So
how would what?
How would we verify that they are true prophets? Moshembe, the prophet Wabalembe, the prophet Wabampondo.
Okay, so this is a theological topic. You know, how do we prove that somebody is a prophet? Number one, the most important element in prophethood is infallibility. The person is infallible according to the kalam of the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt. Number one, you have to have isma. If you don't have isma, you're not a prophet. Shembe didn't claim infallibility. You know, Bushiri didn't claim infallibility. None of them claimed infallibility. So if they don't claim infallibility, then according to Islam, it's simple, case closed. They were not, prophets. There are other evidence and proofs to prove that they were not true prophets. The prophets that I am speaking about, I'm speaking about Adam, Ibrahim, Nuh, Musa, Isa, Yaqub, Ayyub, Yusuf, all of these prophets that are mentioned in the Quran, Dhul Qarnayn, they came from Ethiopia. Inshallah, one day we will prove it in detail, inshallah. It will be a series and it will be a very comprehensive series, inshallah.
Inshallah.
I saw a question of somebody saying that race, is race a social construct?
Yeah, is race not a construct then? Because historically we used ethnicity rather than color. And are the Aryans, Indians, and others not victims of white supremacist capitalist racism, since they also are under colonization of some sort?
Yes, race is a social construct to an extent, but it's in a secondary. Phase. In a primary phase, race is biological, and race is it's pigmentational. You know, a person's skin color is what identifies race. But now I'm black, and then I give birth to a child that's an albino. Then what do we apply for the child? Social construct. So the primary ruling for race is that it is not social. Yes, the secondary application of of race is that it is a social construct. Because, for an example, I remember there was a girl in high school when I was in grade 8. This girl was black, and her name was Shireen. But Shireen was more white than a girl who was an Afrikaner, and her name was Cornei Khaiser. And Cornei Khaiser was those dark brown Afrikaner girls that stay in the sun for very long, you know? So we would be surprised all the time looking at her, looking at Shireen, and looking at some of the white kids in school, you know? So yes, in a secondary phase, on a secondary level, race is a social construct.
Right, yeah, no, via text, that is the last question that we have. Maybe from the audience, perhaps there is somebody who would like to also ask a question. Alhamdulillah, today we had, let's see. Maybe Majnoon Abdul Hakim will stop praising himself now about being a yellow bone. Anyway, yes.
Not anytime soon.
If there is a question,
not anytime soon.
If there is a question or a remark or something to add or something, can we please ask it quickly so that we can quickly wrap it up, inshallah ta'ala. This one has to go on YouTube. We have to make this one go fast. Please, after I upload it, welcome salam. After I upload it, you must share the link, guys. Welcome salam, Babu Masam.
I see what the subject ngifuna ukwazi because yabona Allah ngisho wenze imihlobo ngemihlobo yabona so sharp ngesikhathi judgment day which language leyo Allah okusho ukuthi uzokhuluma nathi ngayo mase siphelele lapha sonke uzokhuluma nathi nga one by one yos addressa ngayiphi language ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi Allah yiphi language la yos addressa ngesikhathi judgment and then yiphi Imam Mahdi salamullah makazobuya na yiphi ilanguage le nayo ozosaddressa ngayo now ama question ngikwazi
okay so i-question uqala
uzimulindrebele
so i-question uqala angisho umuzilo ukuthi Day of Qiyamah Allah uzokhulumisa ngelimi liphi and then question yobisibili ukuze ngo-Imam Mahdi ukuthi uma wabuya uzokhuluma ilimi liphi
na
so if I'm mistaken well i-question yakho leyo ne
na
all right so number one ima Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uzosikhulumisa ilimi esilizwisisako on the day of Qiyamah you know and in actual fact akusu Allah uzosikhulumisako because Allah akakhulumi nathi Allah sizokhuluma nengilosi you know so angeke sikhona ukukhuluma no Allah you can't see Allah we will never be able to see Allah and we will never be able ukuthi simkhulumise ngokumkhulumisa yabona so yes mangabe uthi yes sizokhuluma nama-angel and ama-angel yiwo azosizisa yabona ama-malaika yiwo abazosizisa ama-question so then yes I agree 100% so bazosibuzisa ngelimi esilizwisisako not necessarily Arabic, you know. That is number one. Question yakho kuqala ne. Angazi ukuthi ngiphendulile na more or maybe mhlawumbe kuna something obufuna ukuyibuzisa in addition.
Naam.
Okay. As for Imam Mahdi makabuya ilimi azolikhuluma izoba yi-Arabic. Mara Imam Mahdi, because he's ma'asum and because he imam of the time and in nasinaku Quran ngisho siyasazi story saka Sulaiman alayhi salam ukuthi uzimu umnikeze isipho sokuthi akhona ukukhuluma nezinyoni ukukhuluma namathuswani akhona ukukhuluma nayo yonke into yabona so no Daud naye uyasho ku Quran ulimna mantiqa at-tayr sifundisa ukuthi sikhona ukukhuluma nezinyoni yabona so it's a verse in the Quran. So the Imam magabuya yes ilimi lakhe lizoba yi-Arabic mara uzokwazi ukukhuluma amalimi wonke fana story saka Imam Ar-Ridha alayhi salam is a narration of Imam Ar-Ridha ukuthi bekakhuluma is-Turkish bekunomuntu obekavela eTurkey bekunomuntu obekavela ePersia bekunomuntu obekavela what is it eYemen bekunomuntu obekavela eEthiopia bekunabantu abacwele gathering yakamamuntu bekafuna ukumhlazisa yabona phambili kwalabantu and whereas imam is imam ma'sum salamu alayhi and then after that bambuzisa ama question ngamalimi ahlukile ngelimi lase Ethiopia waphendula ukuthi no kusona so umuntu wase Ethiopia wathi lo muntu lo wazi ilimi leli umdlula mina wasePersia wabuzisa question wamphendula ngelimi lakhe yabona waseYemen na wamphendula ngelimi lakhe waseRome wamphendula ngelimi lakhe so ama-imam baphiwe bakhona ukuphendula imibuzo bakhona ukukhuluma wonke amalimi kahle kahle so mara however ilimi laka Imam Mahdi makabuya uzobe ukukhuluma iArabic but hayi ukuthi ngeke uzobahluleka ukuthi akhona ukukhuluma nabanye abantu yabona ngamalimi wakho uzokwazi ukukhuluma nabo vele kahle.
Yes, just to add to Imam Mahdi ajallahu ta'ala farja. I get it, but just like as you said, stories are Imam Ali al-Rida. But when he would speak Arabic, but then everyone in the crowd would hear in their language, in fact, in their own dialect. So it's only the call of Imam al-Mahdi ajallahu ta'ala farja in the sky that we're all gonna get. The hadith states that everyone is gonna get the message in their language, in fact, in their own dialect that they understand best. So the call will be Al-Mahdi qad dhahar. But it was kasindebele uthi uMahdi uvelile. Kasuthu bari Mahdi utla ubuile. Kasvenda kithi. All of that. Everyone will hear it in the language that they know and understand best. So Imam Mahdi ends a conference, Alida Juma, Ayyuhan nas, wena ngoba umasango umndebele uzozwa athi hey nina bantu mina ngoba ngikhuluma isitswana ngitotware lo nabathu but yena zabakhuluma Arabic. You see, that is the miracle of the Imams alayhim salam. There's a last question. Okay, bismillah.
I would this a question now.
Okay, the question, since we're here, someone asked me today, this is in the text, someone asked me today if Arabic is the language of heaven. Because we are talking about how the Quran is Allah's words.
Yes.
Is it the language of heaven?
No, it's not the language of heaven. There is no specific language for heaven. You know, the Holy Quran, the principle of Jannah or the principle of the hereafter is وَلَهُمْ فِيهَا مَا يَشَاءُونَ وَلَدَيْنَا مَزِيدٌ. That's what the Quran says. The principle of the Quran and the principle of Jannah is this verse of the Quran that says, and whatever that they wish for in it is theirs, and there is even more for them. So if you're not interested in speaking Arabic, mashallah, bismillah. If you want to love speaking, if you want to speak English, bismillah. If you want to speak Tswana, bismillah.
Yes, now this is Zulu.
So each and every language, will deserve its its space in Jannah. That is number one. Number two, I also want to go back to adding to the previous question, which is also connected to this question also. I have reason to believe. I might be wrong, and I might be wrong. But I believe, by the way, before I say this, Arabic was the first language that was ever spoken. There is proof for this. But inshallah, this is going to be for another day when I will prove that Southern Arabic, or what they call the Ge'ez language, which was spoken in Ethiopia. I will prove it, inshallah, one day when I do the series. Arabic was the first language. And if you look at many of the words that are used, be it in English, be it in Sesotho, in Setswana, in all the languages, you can find them when you merge. There is an ability right now. You are able to actually root out the words, take it step by step, and find out where it originates from. You know, I'll make an example. There are certain words in certain languages are very limited. However, in the Arabic language, it's very broad. The word good, did you know that the word good is actually from Arabic? The word good comes from Arabic because you can only use it in two phases in English. Number one, good and goodness. Or goody two shoes. You can't use good in anything else. But in Arabic, The word good comes from the word Jud. And Ja, as you know, in some certain Arab dialects, it's pronounced as Ga. So you have Jud, good. Now you have good, you have Gawad, you have Tajweed, you have Mujawad, you have Jiwad, you have Ijad. You have so many words that you can use with the word Jud. But however, in English, you just use what? Good and goodness. That's the limited version. It's so limited, you can't use it. So you can prove that certain languages, where they come from, where did they get the words from? I was telling a brother today about the word checkmate. Did you know that the word checkmate comes from Arabic in chess? When you play chess, the word checkmate is Arabic. Sheikh, it means an old man or chief. It's a word that is used to define a person who is of royalty or kingship. So in Arabic, when you say mayyit, it means dead. Isn't it? Mayyit means a corpse. So when you say check mayyit, you're saying sheikh mayyit. The sheikh is dead. It's Arabic. So there are so many words that day by day, as time is going by, we are actually discovering where they originate from. You know, every single thing, and you can find it in so many. Like for example, Julia. It's an English word. It's an English name. But why is it that the feminization of that word, they're using the same Arabic tactic? Like for an example, when you want to feminize a word in English, what do? You put a at the end. If somebody's name is Joseph, when you want to feminize it, what do you say? You say Josephina. When you want to feminize the word Solomon, you say what? Solomina. It's like that. But that feminization only exists in Arabic. So as time is going by, we are going to actually, I believe, we are actually going to be speaking Arabic. It's already going there. Because the Quran is the most recited book, and it's in Arabic. And it is the most memorized book, the most recited book, the most bought book, the most published book, the most studied book, the most book that is written books about it, because tafsir are so many. You understand what I mean? So gradually, as time is going by, we are going to go back to Arabic. That's what I believe. It's my theory, might be wrong, but that's my theory and my predictions as Umay Jawad.
Astaghfirullah. Right now, I think we can close with that. That was a very interesting question. So, in summary, Quran is the words of Allah, because Arabic is the first language and basically has its roots spread out into all languages. That's why it's easy to believe that it is the name of words of Allah. Also, because of it being spoken in that central area that can reach everywhere. That's the geography argument. And then there is no particular language for Jannah. We thank our Sheikh, our brother, our teacher, our alim. I could really Sheikh Chief. You are chief. You chief. You are chief.
And I'm saying that the word was used to refer to chief.
Right. Walaikum salam.
My question is regarding Kaaba. There's a black woman under the Kaaba. I want to know, is it authentic or no?
Yes. There is a narration that says that Ibrahim li Hajar li Ismail babuluke to the Kaaba. There is narration airing. So Hajar, she's a black woman, and she, according to that narration, it says that she is buried in Masjidul Haram. Yeah. There are theories. I don't think that they say the narration. I don't know. Sheikh Hussein might correct me, but I don't think it says in the Kaaba. I think it says in Masjidul Haram itself, like maybe in the Haram.
No, between the Kaaba and that rock. between the Kaaba and the Ark rock.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where Ismail is definitely buried.
Yes, yes. So yes, in Masjid al-Haram, when you are performing tawaf, you are performing tawaf on top of a black woman, inshallah. When you pray 5 times a day, you are bowing
facing her grave.
A black woman. Yeah, a black woman, inshallah. According to the narration.
When you do tawaf, you go around her grave.
Exactly.
All right, I know, inshallah, we'll close it on that note. We thank very much the talk, and we're looking forward to tomorrow's talk. Spread the word. Again, I'm going to upload this. You make it go viral tomorrow. We have more attendees because tomorrow's topic is a very interesting one. Very interesting one. It shows you how the extent of the Aryanization. I mean, it didn't start after Imam Mahdi. Imagine, it starts basically right after the Prophet. That's where the Aryanization starts. But inshallah, that's very beautiful discussion tonight, and we're looking forward to tomorrow. We thank you very much. Sheikhna, min fadlik, rkubat zalika dua.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافينا وعف عنا في الدنيا والآخرة إنك على كل شيء قدير رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Same time, same place tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.